A very warm welcome to you, to me, to you, Justin, to Turning Towards Life. We're here once again, and I'm in this moment feeling kind of, what's the word? Maybe humbled by this again and againness that we're in, and the feeling of how quickly a week goes and how extraordinary a kind of punctuation these times are, Justin. It's amazing. And we've got a beautiful source to be between us, around us, through us today, by the wonderful Joy Reichardt, who's in San Francisco, who Justin, you and I both know and love. And I'm feeling extremely excited to get into this, because as I was reading, I was thinking, oh, yep. And thank you, Joy, if you're listening to this. Hopefully you are. It is a great joy to have your joy and your joyness in here with us. So thank you.
Hello, Lizzie. Hello, everyone. It is very good to be here. And I've been, as I often do, Lizzie, thinking a lot about what it is to be in recurring practice, but not just on our own, with others, and the kind of home it can make in the midst of a world which is ever-changing and always full of both wonders and great complexity. So it's very good to be back here and be sitting opposite you. And I know that there will be lots of other people who at this point in our conversation are kind of settling in. So welcome to all of you who are settling in, who are just beginning to feel your way in with us into this conversation. You're so welcome to be here, and we know you're all over the world and all over the place. And as we are coming towards the end of the calendar year 2025, I just want to remind all of you that if you want to find out some of the things that we are up to with Turning Towards Life, including the second season of our Turning Towards Life live program, where you can join us and others and be in this together monthly, that's going to begin in February or March of this coming year. So you can go to turningtowards.life and find out about it. You can sign up for our emails there. You can support us there, which many people do, which helps keep this thing ticking over in all kinds of ways, which we really appreciate. And if you also go to wearethirdSpace.org, you can find out about the coaching, learning to coach the way that we work, that is coming up. February is our Foundations of Coaching program, and the summer is our year-long coaching program. And I'm feeling very excited about those, Lizzie, so it's nice to be able to tell everybody about them. And then Joy, thank you for writing this piece and letting us use it. And before we read, for any of you who are within reach of the west coast of the United States, Joy isn't just somebody who writes beautifully. She's also someone who creates many opportunities for other people to learn how to write. So if you search her out, and we will put a link in the show notes to Joy's endeavors, we know that there are extraordinary opportunities to join in community and writing over there. So here's the source from Joy. It will be in the show notes and on the website too, and it's called What I Know to Be True. What I know to be true is that I needed to zoom this Google Doc to 125% to comfortably see the words I'm typing. I need to hold packages and bottles far from my face under lamps and near windows to read the instructions. What I know to be true is that I didn't take a certain way home last night driving in the dark because I could not say for sure where exactly to enter the intersection. What I know to be true is that there is a light grey streak in my hair and I love it, and that I bought 2 pairs of reading glasses at the dollar store but never use them, not out of vanity but simply because it still works to hold the thing under the light or far from my face, or to zoom in on the text if zooming is an option. What I know to be true is that no matter how enlightened we become, we are still in human bodies. And now I get what the Buddhists talk about when they chant over and over again that we are going to get sick and die and lose everything. Add to that list mistakes. We are going to make them, even after learning the lessons. We're going to, as a dear friend puts it, step in it again and again. We're going to watch ourselves with disbelief. How on earth did it happen again? Especially given how much I know, given how much it hurts. Add to that list disharmony, unfinished business. Add to that list hatred and greed and all those very human tendencies that none of us, no matter who we are above. Add to that list fear, the root of everything we don't like about ourselves, of all that goes wrong. I am human, I will fear. I may not be consumed by it every day. In fact, in most moments, I may actually get bigger than it, may attach myself to the love, to the joy that I know is the actual truth. Still, it will sneak out from behind corners in the evening hours. It will stalk me when I'm dehydrated or overcommitted. It will brush me with its little fingers of worry, pelt me with tiny flashes of terror. It'll make me want to solve things using my little human mind, the one that thinks it can single-handedly battle fear instead of reaching for a truer, realer source. What I know to be true is that I will not escape any of this. 5 decades on this earth in this meat suit, this bone ship, have made that abundantly clear. What I also know, though, is that there is endless room for my soul to spread out here and get bigger and understand more, and giggle when I do the human things, and greet it all with equanimity and accept the mission I assigned myself in the time before memory, in the time of clear sight, way back before my vision started to blur.
Thank you, Justin. I'm just going to read the last 3 paragraphs. I am human. I will fear. I may not be consumed by it every day. In fact, in most moments, I actually may get bigger than it, may attach myself to the love, to the joy that I know is the actual truth. Still, it will sneak out from behind corners in the evening hours. It will stalk me when I'm dehydrated or overcommitted. It will brush me with its little fingers of worry, pelt me with tiny flashes of terror. It will make me want to solve things using my little human mind, the one that thinks it can single-handedly battle fear instead of reaching for a truer, realer source. What I know to be true is that I will not escape any of this. 5 decades on this earth, in this meat suit, this bone ship, have made that abundantly clear. What I also know, though, is that there is endless room for my soul to spread out here and get bigger and understand more and giggle when I do the human things and greet it all with equanimity and accept the mission I assigned myself in the time before memory, in the time of clear sight, way back before my vision started to blur.
Thank you, Lizzie. I meant to say earlier that Joy's endeavours in the world are, you can find them at soulwriting.org, in case anybody wants to follow that. Oh my goodness, I love this piece. And what I notice about it, Lizzie, is how much joy and relief I feel in it. And right from the beginning, I think we get, in these times, we've got terribly confused about truth. So we had times when truth was handed down by authorities, and you had to believe the truth of the authorities. And then we've had time when we've sort of uprooted that and said, well, there's lots of different kinds of truth, and there's lots of different ways of seeing things. And then we've got tangled in the terrible pickle of like, this is my truth, as if I say it, it makes it more true because it's mine and that can negate yours. And so we're really confused about how to find out what's true. And then someone like Joy comes along and says, well, we could start with the really close in things. We could start with, instead of asserting too strongly, this is my truth, like just because I say it firmly enough, it makes it true, and actually really look and take in what we might like to deny or pretend or it isn't the case in order to make ourselves feel more powerful. So I love the way this begins. Maybe it's because I'm also of a similar age to Joy. And so it's true that I need to zoom the Google Docs and I need to hold the things away from my face, and there's grey in my hair. In fact, I went to the barber the other day and I noticed how quick my haircuts have got. They take less and less time. So I have to face up to all of that. And I don't know about you, Lizzie, but it seems to me there's such relief in saying like basic things we can see, like looking and then saying the thing that's right here without going too far away from it, too much into, well, this means that, and that means this, and this means that. Like, here it is. Here's my face. Here's my hair. Here's my body. Here's my eyes. I am just as I am, and I can feel so much relief in me from doing that. And that, I think that's where, I mean, I've got lots to say about the later parts about fear and mistakes and all of that. But I think where I wanted to start is, I think increasingly, I think that if we'll listen, our bodies are really made for truth telling. And it helps us to do this kind of truth telling where it's unarguable, like to start with the things that aren't a matter of interpretation, that aren't a matter of opinion, and aren't a matter of where I stand in opposition to you, and aren't even a matter of me saying things to you, Lizzie, and trying to get your agreement. Like if I say this, Lizzie will agree, and then we'll be friends. And way before all of that, I'm here. This is the state of my body. This is the state of my life. This is what I find in me. So I'm very, very glad to have writing that reminds me of that. It's very, and I know it's not the end of things. There are many other things that we have to talk about in the world that aren't just this, but it's such a good place to start. And the last thing just to say on this theme was I noticed when I read it before when we were preparing, and then when you and I have read it, how helpful it is and how powerful and resonant it is to read these words. What I know to be true is that I will not escape any of this. Like none of my strategies to wiggle my way out, to argue my way out, to get me out of, and these words that I'm going to read next move me endlessly. This particular bit, 5 decades on this earth in this, and then these words, this bone ship, have made it abundantly clear. And I don't even know why that brings me to talk about this bone ship that carries us, why it moves me so much. Oh my goodness, somehow it seems to tap into something that I might forget, and I can feel such waves of tenderness and joy and also sort of recognition coming every time I encounter those words.
Ah, it's so delicious, this sauce, and all kinds of things are moving around in me as usual when you're talking, Justin. And I'm really taken by this, what I experience as a very kind of grounding practice of stating what is experientially in this moment definitely true. Like when I speak, my voice makes a sound and I can feel a smile on my face and my left hand just moved, and how kind of bringing back that kind of saying what is right now is. And I know I have that with me, especially when I'm in my catastrophizing places. So Joy says, it will brush me with its fingers of worry and pelt me with tiny flashes of terror. I get way more than tiny flashes of terror. I get like full on catastrophizing, bodily, panic stricken, trauma filled bodily experience. And I have to find a way of working with myself. I have to find a way of breathing and being here and saying things to myself, comforting myself, soothing myself, safetyifying myself. And this is one of the things that I know that I have, which is I'm breathing. My body is here. I can feel it with my hands. and I can kind of bring myself home again to something safer. And it reminds me, Justin, I was on the train once, and I was on the phone to a friend, and I started to faint. And I remember it being quite a kind of complex conversation on the train. And then as the kind of, I don't know how to say it, but like as the space got smaller for me to live in, I knew something was happening. And so I somehow reached for this. So in those moments where things are getting darker and darker, I feel like this, that happening when it happened to me physically. And then I actually did keel over, and all kinds of people were very kind to me, and I was held and it was fine. But when I was when it was shutting down my system, I don't know what happens, but I in terms of consciousness, but I remember feeling like it's getting smaller and smaller. And all I could do was say, I'm standing up. I can see a window. There's something about just saying something that was supportive to me, or what I needed to reach for. I'm really appreciating this, what I know to be true practice, and how supportive it is for me. And what I'm also struck by is this Buddhist chanting over and over again that we're going to get sick and die and lose everything. I think I know why that's not a one-time event, as you're talking, because I can find all the ways that I know that. I repeat that to myself. I have been with it at depth, and still I have such a talent for denying all of that. And, Joy talks about her light grey streak. And if anybody's watching, you will have over the years seen my hair is greying quite excellently. I'm just showing everybody online if you're watching the video now. But like, I have these extraordinary grey streaks in my hair too. And I know the beauty of Joy's grey streak. And I know that all of the times I've ever gone to the hairdresser, the hairdresser always, from just the normal world, says, so what are we going to do about this grey? And so far I've said, nothing, because I like it. But that's just another example of where everyone in our culture is trying to kind of, in some way, deny this process of losing everything. If I can keep my hair the same color as when I was younger, maybe it means I'm not this. Maybe it means I'm not going to lose everything. Maybe it means I'm not going to get sick. Maybe it means I'm not. So I really understand it. I really get it. And it's there all the time, like an implicit, well, we are going to do something about your grey. It's just what we're going to do is your choice. And then for someone to say, no, actually, I would like it. It's quite kind of like, really? Would you? Oh, okay. Well, that's different or strange or something. So I know that these ways of falling asleep to this are just everywhere, encouraging us to fall back asleep again. And our, what does Joy call it? Our little personality or something, our little selves trying to manage things are the ones that are fearful. This is really scary and threatening to all of our parts that don't want this to be true. And so I'm amazed at all the ways I'm able to be in denial about that, even though I'm really committed to it being present in my life, the impermanence of things, and letting that inspire my decisions and my actions and my way of being and all of that. And I can still just pretend that that's not true. So I'm really moved by the way Joy, I think, is articulating the dance between fear and faith, and the way she just talks about soul at the end. I don't know. It's like making that distinction between body and soul, even though, of course, they can't be separate from one another unless we don't have a body or whatever. It's quite something to feel the articulation of that, to know that whatever's going on with our bodies and whatever's our souls are saming. They are learning, understanding more, this kind of endlessness, the spreading out, the observing all of our fearful responses. I'm really moved by the bone ship being an opportunity for the soul to spread through it. And actually, I was thinking of a bone ship as like, it is a skeleton. And I was thinking how the soul seeps through all the rib bones and and through the pelvis, and like it's not inhibited by, it's not held by the limitations of the bone ship. It seems to me to be much of a different order or something of something that spreads and learns and grows and does very different things to the bones that we are.
Mm. Um, this having a body that changes, Lizzie, you and I have, and for anyone who I don't know anybody else would want to do this, but because we have heading towards a decade of videos of you and I talking with one another, and I don't know if our voices change apart from our production values have got better over time, but our faces definitely do, and our hair definitely does. And when we put out a couple of weeks ago, because we had a technical interruption, an episode from only 4 or 5 years ago, I was struck by how different we are. And I had this experience. It's a little while ago now, going to the barber, and he was cutting my hair, and I could hear this man behind me going, "Oh, oh, oh," because he was noticing that my inevitably thinning hair. This is what happens to men in my family. It's like there's no escaping that if you wanted to. He said, we have to do something about this. Must do something about it. And I said to him, what do you think I should do? He said, well, it's half an hour of rubbing olive oil in every night. That will do it. And I thought, I had two thoughts. I thought, one, well, that's not going to work. I just look at all the men in my family. It's like saying you can avoid death or something. Second of all, I'm not going to spend half an hour with olive oil in my head every night. It doesn't sound very appealing to me. But it was a similar kind of thing. I remember that sort of encounter with something's going wrong because of this. And one of the thoughts that I had whilst you were talking is the great human strength that we have to abstract away from what's here, from our senses, to go into stories, explanations, denial. We can, with our minds, we can take us very far from the actual, what we see right ahead of us. And that, in a way, is a great strength. It's allowed us to imagine things. It's also allowed us to question what we get from our senses and to have other kinds of explanations. Like we've learned that the sun doesn't go around the earth, but the earth goes around the sun, and that's helpful. So that it's a very powerful capacity, and it's made the world, and it's very distinctively human to be able to abstract away. But at the same time, it's so tempting to do that with everything as a way to kind of keep ourselves safe. We can tell any story we want about what's happening. We can tell stories that numb us. We can tell stories that amplify our rage, because we feel more like we've got more power when we feel angry with all the other people. We can tell ourselves stories about how small and inconsequential and how we've got to do everything that everyone else wants. We can tell a billion stories, and they're not all helpful. And so telling truthful stories that bring us back into contact with our lives and into one another, and then awaken our genuine compassion and generosity for all the other ones who are bone ships and meat suits, and who are going to inevitably, everyone will get older, get ill, die, everyone. And I'm really, I feel like Joy's writing is reminding us to get really close, like get to the bones of things more often, which I know like you were saying, I try to do as much as I can, and I also forget and get caught up in all the same kinds of stories. And so then we have to have practices of remembering, because I think this is this thing that Joy says that made me smile so much. She says something where she says, we're going to step in it again and again, and we're going to watch ourselves with disbelief. How on earth did this happen again? I forgot again. I made a terrible mistake again. I dealt with a situation in the way that I know is so, problematic again. How on earth did it happen? especially given how much I know, and especially given how much it hurts. So it's so important that that's there, because we could get into another story about ourselves, which is a kind of crazy standard making that we make as humans. And I love our human aspiration, our sense of hope that we can make things better and that we can find new ways to bring ourselves. Thank goodness for that. We don't have to just be resigned to, and this is the thing that Joy says, there's endless room to spread out, to get bigger and to understand more. And at the same time, we are endlessly and inevitably going to step in it. We're going to forget all of this again and again and again. And the paradox about it is that I know when I remember, things are much better in so many ways.
Mm.
I mean, I'm way more caring towards others and myself when I remember this. I'm way more alive to our human beauty and dignity and our vulnerability. I'm way less likely to spin off in anger or disconnection or judgment or all these things that I know. But if I set that too much as a standard, I catch myself in another loop of storytelling and moving away. So it has me think a lot about the how much it matters to talk to other people about this, actually. To sit and look at you and to say, Lizzie, my hair is greying and I have much less of it than I did. I'm at this point in my life, I feel this way. This is what's true. And how also important practices like writing are. Like anything we can do
Mm.
that helps us get close to the heart of it and get it into words so it can be said in front of us to another. It might be for people, anyone who has a practice that's like prayer, where you are speaking it to the something that is bigger than us, whatever it is. Because we are so prone to forget.
Mm-hmm. I'm feeling as well, Justin, this in this conversation, a possibility is arriving in me. I know at the moment I've got some stories that keep going around in my head when I'm doing the things that I have to keep doing. And somehow I'm thinking, oh, when the story arrives, I don't know, somehow contact with this writing and this thing about the soul and what you're saying now is giving me this possibility that I could find another story to tell. And it doesn't even need to be another story. It could be a song to sing that's different than the thoughts that I'm having. Because I know that the thoughts I'm having don't help me and they don't help anyone around me and they don't bring about the thing that I most intend either. And so I'm feeling really curious about the seeing that I forget, the acknowledgement that I forget, somehow is showing me, like kind of reflectively, even in the last day, the places that I've forgotten. And I'm thinking, well, because I forget, it's going to happen again. So that's a predictable thing I can work with. I'm going to think those thoughts again when I'm loading the dishwasher for the 97th time or sweeping up or whatever in a house full of rambunctious young children. It's literally endless. What is, given the forgetting is coming again, what can I say about the places that I know I forget? And how can I open the possibility for another choice to be made in that moment? And I'm really curious about that. And like you said, being with one another and talking and reflecting in this way, getting down to the bones of it, like you said, Joy's encouraging us to do, somehow is an invitation for me, or it brings up the possibility that I then get to have different choices. And that makes a huge, big difference. Suddenly I'm going, oh, okay. So then when I hear that story coming up again of I really shouldn't be on my own doing this, or surely someone else should be doing this. I'm not the person to be doing, like, this is kind of, I guess it's kind of like the manifestation for me of like of a sacrifice story of like, this isn't fair, or this is not the right, this isn't right. Something else should be happening here, and somehow I'm at the center of it. How can I work with that? What could I be doing that would, in myself, that could challenge that story and allow it just to be something different? I don't know what, but maybe that's one of the steps, is just to say, well, I don't know what it will be. I don't know what my story will be, or what song I would sing, or whatever. But it doesn't have to always be that way. And there is a possibility that I could remember in those times. And I'm feeling really committed to trying to remember that today. I'm just going to say today. I'm not even going to make a big, or even this morning, I'm not going to make a big promise to myself or something, but just to allow that this conversation and these remembering times can find their way into those moments where the story I'm telling myself is not serving me or anyone around me. Can I let this infiltrate there? Can I let this come and, I don't know, sprinkle some magic in it that is not the same as it always ever was?
Well, my parting thought, which is so inspired by what you just said, Lizzie, is there are some things which aren't malleable, like they just are, and that's what Joy is writing about a lot here. I'm going to get ill, I'm going to get older, I'm going to die, my hair is getting grey, I'm going to make mistakes, all of those. And it really helps us to know which kinds of things are those, and to remind us. And then beyond that, what I'm taking from what you're saying is everything is malleable. So then beyond that, there are a million stories we could tell to make sense. That's why I think the language of "this is my truth" is so problematic, because when we use it in a very rigid way, like I'm going to assert my truth is you're out to get me, Lizzie, I'm telling just one story of many and holding on to it very tight. And that's not the same kind of truth as the kind of truth that Joy is writing here. And then whatever it is that we take to be my truth, it's a little bit like, I was watching, been watching films with my daughter Maya, and we've been talking about soundtracks together, about how if you watch a horror film with a funny soundtrack, it's not so frightening. And if you watch a family drama with a horror film soundtrack, it's suddenly very alarming. That the same something, just depending upon the mood of the account that we give to it, can be many different things. And that's what I'm going to read to finish. I'm going to read the last two paragraphs of what Joy says, because I think this is what I know to be true, is that I will not escape any of this. 5 decades on this earth in this meat suit and this bone ship have made that abundantly clear. What I also know, though, is that there is endless room for my soul to spread out here and get bigger and understand more and giggle when I do the human things and greet it all with equanimity and accept the mission I assigned myself in the time before memory, in the time of clear sight, way back before my vision started to blur. And I think that's our time to finish this week, with such great thanks to you, Lizzie, to Joy. Thank you for gifting us this writing so generously, to all of you who are with us, listening, in conversation inside yourselves, in conversation with other people about this, which we know many of you are. You're so welcome to share Joy's writing, soulwriting.org, this conversation with other people who you think would benefit. That is the way that this something we're up to here reaches people in the world, not because the algorithm served it up to them, because it won't. We're not playing that way. And all being well, we will be back in another week. Thank
Thanks,
you, Lizzie.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Justin.